Thank God it's Friday. It's time to do Friday business, and it will take us 55 minutes. Here's what you're going to enjoy for the next 55 minutes. Good news coming the way of South Africans. In September, there's going to be a reduction in the price of fuel. Egypt is targeting more tourists into the country through their e-visa. And Zimbabwe has gotten fertilizer donation from Japan. I wonder what's going on in their relationship. Good afternoon, I'm Ini John Rekwa. This is Business Incorporated. We start as usual from the global space. Oil prices were set for a second straight week of gains, and that's despite edging lower on Friday as recent U.S. economic data boosted optimism over demand in that country. Brent futures look set for a 1.3% weekly rise, while WTI, as West Texas Intermediate crude futures, increased 1.2. Now, for this time, we see that Brent is at $80.74 a barrel, down 0.4%. For WTI, it's 0.5% in the red at $77.76. And yes, that U.S. retail sales data came out late yesterday, beat analyst expectations. And so we see that also reflecting in the price. Separate data showed fewer Americans had filed. That's for the jobs data. They had fewer new applications for unemployment benefits last week. And this, of course, brings us closer, it seems, to that expected rate cut by the Federal Reserve in September. Still from the global space, gold prices pared gains on Thursday as the dollar and treasury yields rose after stronger than expected U.S. economic data we just talked about in the oil space. And that could influence, of course, the size of interest rate cuts. Spot gold, if we could have the numbers there. Spot gold, you see, is up 0.3% at $2,455.79, while U.S. gold looking better there, 0.6% in the green, $2,493.60. Let's look at other data. Of course, we know that U.S. data, of course, did affect it, making gold more expensive for other currency. The stronger the dollar, the more expensive it becomes. While benchmark 10-year treasury yields also jumped. Spot silver is still in the red at 0.61%, $28.24. Platinum also in the red. So deep in the red, you see there almost 1%, 0.87%. Palladium almost 0.5% down at $933 per ounce. Then we come to Nigeria, getting closer home now. Lagos State and InterSwitch launch. Residents of Lagos may soon experience a better health system following that launch. It's the launch of Smart Health Information System, and it took place at a rental hotel in Lagos.
It's a partnership between InterSwitch Company and the Lagos State government targeted at accelerating healthcare delivery in the state.
Both primary and secondary.
The convocation here sets the tone for a new dawn in provision of healthcare in Lagos, as accentuated by the Special Assistant to the Governor on Health Matters.
As we embark on this transformative journey, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to all those involved in the development and implementation of this platform, as well as to our partners at ECLAT, InterSwitch. Your dedication and hard work have turned this vision into a reality.
Providing healthcare for over 20 million Lagosians is surely a Herculean task, which the management of InterSwitch says it recognizes and is ready to execute with the government via digital technology platforms.
So we aim to streamline healthcare operations, enhance patient care, and address the fragmentation that currently hinders the efficiency of the hospitals and healthcare service providers.
96. The Commissioner for Health, Lagos State, Professor Aki Abayomi, in his presentation states the import of the SHIP project.
We're moving into an era of genetic data, into an era where we are capturing very complex information that needs to be processed. It consumes a lot of space and it needs to be stored here. And we're going to be able to translate this data into beneficial information for the management of patients, being able to predict, preempt, and manage their conditions actually before, during, and at the time of management or presentation for care.
The event moves to a panel discussion with stakeholders, giving more insights on moving the health sector forward in the state.
People thinking that technology might replace them, so there is a fear of what will happen to their jobs. And then the safety of the data is also a cause for concern. But because the benefits are multi-layered and multifactorial, as we have heard, we need to overcome those challenges.
At a macro level, there is a bigger benefit, integrating beyond a single facility, for example, which is what SHIP is aimed to achieve.
According to the promoters of the initiative, this partnership between InterSwitch and Lagos State government will in no small measure result in the free flow of data from one health institution to another and provide payment options for patients.
Now, at the conclusion of the second Capital Market Committee's meeting, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Momotimi Agama, has been sharing highlights from those conversations. Mr. Agama notes that there's been record time approval of 9 issuances worth 1.228 trillion naira to accelerate banks' recapitalization. Another area of interest for the DG is the 111% increase of net asset value managed by fund managers, but he says there's still yet a whole lot to be done.
In terms of registration of market players, the bulk of capital market operators and sponsored individuals which had either been held back for some time now have now begun to receive registration. So all of our backlogs are being cleared and new registrations are going to start taking place as it should take place within the law and the regulations of the SEC. In terms of the unclaimed dividends, we are strongly working towards the resolution of all unclaimed dividend issues. As much as possible, it may be impossible to get it to zero level, but we know clearly with the strategies we are adopting and, of course, the interest of the legislators and all parties concerned, we are making all efforts to make sure that that unclaimed dividend is reduced, not about its reduction, that investors actually who are entitled to those unclaimed dividends receive their monies as at when due. For those that are unclaimed, they are able to reach out to the brokers and everybody that's involved to get them to get back their money. For we, as a new management, we see that as a major booster to investors' confidence, and we'll do everything possible for investors to reclaim their money. We are going to set up a special unit at the SEC that speaks directly to the issues of unclaimed dividend, having to resolve those issues, because we discover that a lot of investors are having some minor challenges in trying to get access to those unclaimed dividends. So the SEC is setting up a small office at the headquarters and indeed probably at the branch offices, so that investors who have challenges of getting their monies back will certainly have a way to get it back seamlessly, and because that is very, very important to us.
Big news in Nigeria yesterday was a drop in inflation numbers, and then the drop in Nigeria's inflation numbers is a good sign, but still leaves work to be done. This is the view of the Chief Executive Officer of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf, who was a guest on Business Morning, believes that implementation of more intentional policies by the fiscal authority will result in a sustained reduction in prices.
Reduction in inflation rate does not imply reduction in prices. Just as you said, what it implies is reduction in the rate of increase. So what the citizens are looking forward to is actually what you can call deflation, that is reduction in prices. And I think this is a very good first step. We are seeing a deceleration, and we are hoping that by the time we progress into the rest of the year, we begin to see a much more impact, especially from some of the measures that the government is trying to put in place with respect to, trade policy, reduction in import duty of food items, possibly also if we see an improvement in our refining of domestic refining of petroleum products, And of course, we are likely to see progressively a greater impact of the base effect on inflation. So from July, August, September, we expect to see a much more better scenario in terms of the inflation number.
Oh, that's right. Inflation number and what we expect after that drop that we saw, 0.8% drop in the headline inflation. That's the announcement we got from the NBS yesterday. Let's talk about that this afternoon again with Mr. Ogbonna Okuku. He's an investment and economic development expert. Joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Okuku, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I heard Dr. Muda Yusuf there saying, well, obviously, reduction in inflation number does not automatically mean a reduction in prices. It actually means a reduction at the rate of increase. But what can we be happy about? At least we see a reduction one way or the other. What can we be happy about as Nigerians with this July inflation numbers?
Now, first things first, it just goes to show that the policy direction of the government is beginning to work. Now, I know a lot of people, consumers, will be expecting, a shift in the market price of goods and services, but it doesn't work that way. It takes a bit of time, and then the good thing is, like I said earlier, it goes to show that the direction we're going is actually the right direction. So tightening and then making sure that, you mop up a lot of funds within, the economy helps drive the economy down. So generally speaking, what the central bank has been trying to do is to see how we can keep the inflation rate at an optimal range where you are not also, trying to make, stall the economy from being productive, or also trying to make sure that the purchasing power of the currency is not affected. So the way they are going is actually the right direction, and then I'm hopeful and I'm very sure that in a couple of months coming, a lot of things will begin to translate to Naira and Kobo in the hands of consumers.
Yeah, but we're also being warned that we should be cautiously happy or celebrate cautiously, because when we look at the factors driving this now, for instance, we see the harvest season is a factor, and then, this hasn't set in yet, which is the import waiver that the federal government announced and has started now, and these are short-term reliefs. Do we have the long term? Can we certainly say that this reduction in inflation numbers have come to stay?
Now, the reality is you must have your short-term plans and mid-term and then long-term plans. So the short-term plan in the immediate is to make sure that you have those, policies that will help, reduce the cost of food items, because most of the food items, staple food that we eat in Nigeria, they're all largely imported. So if that is the case, you must, in the short term, provide those incentives to help, show up some of those, effects. Now, but on long-term basis, the Ministry of Agriculture will need to. They are also trying to, do some, come up with some sort of strategy, to make sure that we become self-sufficient when it comes to rice production, cassava, those staple food, those things that we need. So when it comes to raw material supply strategy to the manufacturing sector, until we have that backward integration, until we begin to have, functional agro products that we are producing here largely, because if you look at the manufacturing sector, we're still spending a lot of FX on importing some of those raw materials that is required, and these are raw materials that we can actually get locally if we actually intensify efforts when it comes to security, making sure that we boost our agriculture and stop doing going to serious mechanized agriculture that will support that raw material supply strategy, like I said earlier. And then again, the creating major products as regards financial products, which will come specifically from the finance institutions to make sure we support the manufacturing sector. These are long term, and I say long-term in the sense that because there's a cycle for everything that happens. So if we pay attention to that, which is actually one of the things I know that the fiscal policy managers should focus on at this time to make us self-reliant when it comes to production, and then that will also help help us drive further, what the monetary policy managers are doing, pushing down the inflation rate.
Do you think we are seeing rate cuts or at least a hold maybe in the next meeting following this?
I will expect a hold, but basically, I think looking at the factors, surrounding the economy at this time. So one of the issues where I've had a little issue is when it comes to the increase in wages in Nigeria with the new minimum wage. That will actually bring in a lot of funding in the hands of people. So with that, I think there will be we have to hold and then watch the market and see what the market gives. So that maybe the next MPC, we might decide to increase a little when interest rate. But with that injection, with that interjection, with that wages increase, I expect a bit of shake when it comes to inflation rates. But we should be mindful of it because just like I said earlier, you see, we're not going for a party now saying, oh yes, we've gotten it right. Yes, we're in the right direction. We need to work further. We need to also intensify effort when it comes to fiscal policy managers. There's a lot we need to do. We need to actually inject a lot of resources to the right component of the economy, so that we can drive productivity and then drive growth, from that point of view.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know your perspective on driving productivity. Which I think you're saying that's the longer term, especially because it seems a lot of people have said that the monetary policy or monetary authority have gotten to their wits' end. I mean, they've raised interest rate by about 700 basis points so far. We did 50 the last time. Where else do we go? So when you say driving productivity from the fiscal authority, what should they be looking at?
Please can take it again. I think I
okay, can you hear me now, Mr. Kuku? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So I was asking, seeing that it seems a lot of people have the opinion that the monetary policy have gotten to their wits' end. They've raised rates about 700 basis points so far. You're talking about boosting productivity, and obviously from the fiscal authority, what should they be doing that they are not doing at this time?
Now, you see, when you set up a government, it takes a bit of rejigging. Like I said earlier, there has to be that, yes, there's already a confluence, there's a working, everybody now understand that we must work together to be able to actualize our goals. Now, we need to pay attention when it comes to funding, infrastructure, financing infrastructure, making sure that's going to be a lot of prudence when it comes to the kind of contracting that we go into at this point in time to make sure that the right resources go to the right direction. Now, we need to also support agriculture. Now, agriculture is one because we need to see how we can consciously push the price of food down. The only way we can do that is to have local manufacturers, local, having infrastructure, having right infrastructure to the farm gates, and then making sure that our farmers go back to farm. That means we have to fight security and then intensify effort in fighting security to make sure that our farmers go back to farm and then farm, adequately. So there has to be a lot of injection when it comes to technology, equipment that will be needed to support agro businesses. Because this is actually the foundation to some of the growth that we are actually looking at, and we want to make sure that it happens. So a lot of government agencies, there are a lot of appointments that have happened. So we need some of those CEOs to be given a martial order to make sure that they push and make sure, because this is not time to relax, because it's a lot of work now that we've seen that the monetary policy managers have pushed to a particular level. Like I always use my very, interesting illustration. The policy managers are more of, the monetary policy managers are more of defenders, if you're looking at it in like a football scheme. So the fiscal policy managers are like the strikers. So the success of a team is largely dependent on what the strikers do than what the defenders do. So defending, creating stability in the economy, making sure that the money market is stable. But again, the strikers need to create those angles, those transactions that will help the economy grow. We must be able to get a robust DFI. I use that as a very simple example, because if you are tightening, that means a lot of borrowing will not happen in the commercial, in the commercial banking sector. So that means the development finance institutions must create products that will support export and then will support, SMEs. So, and support manufacturing. So those key things must happen and must happen real quick.
Yeah. So the last thing I'd like to take you on is the minimum wage. You mentioned it. And of course, fears have been expressed about how this could contribute or add up to inflation, which, we hope will be tapering from now on. Is there a way to hedge against that?
Now, see, whether we like it or not, it creates a little, there'll be a lot of disposable income in the hands of workers. But looking at the percentage of workers in Nigeria, starting because it has to start from the federal government and the government. So you're looking at the percentage of workers in the economy. It might not, the effect, I can't estimate as we speak until we see, we all have to watch. But like I said, the monetary policy managers are watching closely to see what the effect will be. Because with that liquidity in the hands of, disposable income in the hands of workers, that means there'll be a lot of purchasing power, and then, it will also might affect inflation. But it goes to show that tightening is the best way, and then it's the right direction. So if that means we need to tighten further, then we have to tighten further.
Mr. Okuku, a lot of people will not be happy with you hearing that more tightening in spite of all of this. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and opinion with us this afternoon. Mr. Ogbonna Okuku is an investment and economic development expert.
All right. Thank you for having me, Ini.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we head to the markets. It's Business Incorporated on Channels Television. You're still watching Business Incorporated right here on Channels Television. Let's head to the market and see what the numbers look like this afternoon. We see a recovery on the NGX, that's Nigeria's stock exchange. Very minimal, too minimal for us to breathe. But we've added a couple of hundreds of millions right there from 97,111.94 there, 0.01% increase. And we stay here to talk to Mr. Abdul Rashid Momo. Mr. Abdul Rashid Momo is equities trader with TRW Stockbrokers. Mr. Momo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Momo. The market has been so dull. I mean, yesterday, someone described it as, was it boring or so? What's going on? Where are investors of the NGX?
You said the market was up. The market is actually down now, but just a few points, down to about 0.03%. So that point has been, it's off. It's in red now, the index.
Wow.
But it's just a marginal loss. Yeah. See, what we need to know about the market really is for the past two months, the market has been flat. My analysis about the market hasn't changed to date. We're looking at support of about 98,000 to about 100,000 points. And the market actually broke the support down to about 97,000 points. We're looking at worst case about 96,000 points. Even when we saw some recovery, it couldn't go above 98,000 points. So as we see the market now, we just, as we say, it's more of uncertainties happening, perhaps because of, we are having a lot of banks, public offers coming in. So a lot of funds are being diverted into the primary market, buying those shares.
Yeah, one would have thought that even those activities on the banking shares will actually boost the market. I mean, I thought it to be that way.
It's yes, but you see, how can it boost the market when the shares are more for the primary market? That's for the rights and the public offers. Those funds are not coming to the market; they're actually leaving the market. So until those stocks are listed before we can see any form of them entering the market. So those funds are actually going out of the market, not into the market.
Wow.
They'll be coming in later, but not now.
Okay, I know you were talking about a new resistance level. Are we looking at that? I mean, I thought 100 will comfortably be a new resistance level, but isn't that very far-fetched?
Yeah, for every, in tier, the way we look at it, for every 1,000 or 2,000 points you lose, there's always a recovery. The market was 98 to 100. 98 to 100 is 2,000 points. So our next is now 98 is now the new resistance, which used to be a strong support, is now likely to be 96. So the way market is doing now, I did expect a recovery today, which I saw because it's fighting some critical support level, but 96,000 will actually be a more comfortable support level to watch.
I wonder what this would do to this quarter, at the end of this quarter, or because you still have a lot of public offers and still on, and most of them will happen in this quarter. I wonder what this quarter you think will look like.
I think by then the interim rights need to be coming out. The interim dividends will be coming in by then. Possibly that might boost a lot of investors having some funds, bringing it back to the market. And again, we are just running up federal government sukuk bond. I mean, federal government bonds now. That's today. So a lot of money is actually leaving the market now. But with time, I know definitely market will always find its levels. Why I say so that my new stocks like UBA got about 19 plus, they got back to almost 23. So we have what I always tell people, we have what we call the traders and the investors. We are watching areas where market hits certain support levels and the stocks are going to rebound within those levels. We are not in a bull market, neither are we in a bear market. That's what I would say. It's just a form of balance. And when there is balance in the market, when market trends within a tight band for a long time, there's likely going to be a major push. And I pray that the major push is going to be to the upward and not downward trend.
Yeah, I join you in that prayer, Mr. Abdulrasheed Momo. Thank you so much for your thoughts this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.
You too. All right, now let's go to EU, Germany to be precise. That country, that's Germany, has been known as the motherland of automobile cars, but from around the world. They've seen a lot of imports into the streets, including from China. But now they say it's more of American cars they've recently made across the pond, and they have quickly become an issue. Why is this an issue? Lars Holter, hi, good afternoon. What's going on there? Why is this an issue?
Thanks for having me, Ini. Well, we're talking about American pickup trucks, specifically the Ram 150. Now, American pickup trucks, there's something special. Pickup trucks used to be built for tradesmen who had to drive around with all their equipment and tools. But today in the US, the pickup truck has simply become the biggest and strongest vehicle available and a symbol for masculinity. They're a huge success there, partially because most Americans don't even consider the environmental impact these monstrosities are having. Anyway, we're seeing more and more of them on German streets, even though they are not in compliance with EU regulations. And that's because importers are using a loophole in EU law. They're importing not en masse, but at least on paper, they're importing individual cars and get them passed by local inspectors, which are more lenient than Brussels would be. Now, the EU is aware of that, and they have already signaled that they're on the case, developing new legislation that might put a stop to all this. But as is well known, of course, the EU works at a snail's pace, and we'll be seeing a lot more of these giant trucks here soon.
Yeah, sadly, the snail's pace there. But what else can be done? Can this be hastened up in any way?
Well, there are certainly ways to tackle the problem, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing anyone in Germany doing anything. But let's look at France, specifically Paris, where the local government has just raised parking fees for pickup trucks to astronomical heights. Parking such a car anywhere in Paris costs around 170 euros for just a few hours, and that might eventually hurt even those rich enough to afford such a car in the first place. Generally, I think local governments are in the best position to rein in the problem. They can levy a city toll like they have been doing in London, or can take any similar measures to control how many cars are driving into their cities and which ones. Unfortunately, not everyone is getting it. The Berlin government has just made it clear that they are strictly siding with drivers on pretty much any traffic-related and fewer bike lanes. So at least here in Germany and specifically in Berlin, we'll likely see more rather than fewer giant trucks on the street.
All right, let's leave that for now and look at investors. What are they doing this afternoon?
Yeah, lots of corporate numbers. And staying with Stellantis for a second, the maker of those Ram 150 trucks that I was just talking about, shareholders are suing Stellantis in the US over disappointing numbers and a drop in share prices. They're alleging that the European-American automaker defrauded them by concealing rising inventories and other weakness before posting disappointing earnings that caused its stock price to fall. Generally, however, we're seeing markets in a pretty good mood this morning. Asian markets are up and Japan's benchmark Nikkei is posting its best week in more than 4 years.
All right, Lars, thank you so much and do have a great weekend. Yeah, just before we head to Africa now, we did miss out on some of the other markets. So let's begin from the United States and take our correspondent, Maria Brett. Oh, okay, there we have it. So we have Dow Jones in the green, 0.12%, S&P 500, 0.11%, NASDAQ also in the green, a green market. I think spillover from those positive numbers we had, jobs, unemployment filings that had dropped, the sales, the retail sales that was up better than expected. And of course, on Wednesday, we had that inflation number that looked good. If we could have other markets now, maybe Asia, there you have it, Nikkei, following suit, sentiment spreads from especially the United States to Asian market. Nikkei, the Kospi, Nikkei looking really good, I know, but even though they've lost that very treasured 40,000 level a couple of weeks ago, they went up 3.64%. We see positive sentiment beginning to build up on demand in Asia, China, and all of that, and hopefully that will build up, get us back to that 40,000. The Kospi is also good, 1.99%, 2,697.23. Hang Seng Index, good, really good, 1.88%, 17,430. Shanghai, positive, not so much as the other market, but still in the green. And then for Australia, 1.34% at 7,971.10. Okay, the Middle East, let's not miss that out. Two of the markets are closed on Friday, but Abu Dhabi and Dubai trade, and so we see intraday 0.43% in the green. All of the driving very green markets that we're having, mostly green markets for the markets that we look at. So let's see the other markets. They are closed today. These are numbers from yesterday's close. Saudi Arabia 0.55 and Qatar also in the green, 0.17%. Now let's turn our attention to Africa now and see what's going on. It's good news for South Africans, at least from next month, as fuel prices are set to decrease across the board in September, marking the fourth consecutive time in 2024 that fuel prices will drop. The Automobile Association said that based on an unaudited mid-month data from the Central Energy Fund, petrol, diesel, and illuminating paraffin will cost less in September than any other time in the year. The data indicates that premium unleaded 95 petrol is set to decrease by 68 cents a litre and by 63 cents a litre for premium unleaded 93 petrol. Diesel is set for a decrease of about 52 centiliter, and the unaudited data also indicate a reduction in the cost of illuminating paraffin of about 78 centiliter. Officially adjusted fuel prices come into effect on September 4, and the official adjustment is announced by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that, and that, of course, will feed into inflation numbers for September. That will be by October. Now, still in South Africa, mining output is down 0.9% for the second quarter of the year. Iron ore and coal, they hit the hardest. South Africa's mining production experienced a slight downturn in the second quarter with a seasonal adjusted decrease of 0.9% compared to the first quarter. According to Statistics South Africa, the most significant declines were seen in iron ore and coal, with output dropping by 12% and 2.6% respectively.
Mining activity declined by 3.5% year-on-year in June. Gold and platinum group metals were the biggest drags on overall growth. Gold production decreased by 12.6% and platinum group metals by 5.8% year-on-year. Diamonds, nickel and coal also performed poorly in June. On the upside, the industry produced more copper, chromium ore, manganese ore and iron ore. Copper recorded the largest increase, rising by 35.2% year-on-year. June's figures conclude the results for the second quarter of the year. Seasonally adjusted mining production decreased by 0.9% in the second quarter of 2024 compared to the first quarter of 2024.
Let's go to East Africa now. Kenyan shilling is stable against the United States dollar today, but traders say they expect it to come under pressure from foreign currency demand from the manufacturing sector. This morning, commercial banks quoted the shilling at 128.50 to 129 to the dollar, the same level that it closed with on Thursday. Kenyan shilling firms to a new year high, and foreign currency inflows of about 50 billion Kenyan shilling infrastructure bond auction earlier this week had helped to support the local currency. And what had lifted the shilling was that bond during an auction. And now market fundamentals are coming back into place. Still in Kenya, the Kenya Power customers have been updating their token meters since July after the electricity distributor launched an update token meter exercise. Now, Kenya Power customers have 2 weeks to update their meters. And since the process was being implemented in phases, all prepaid users have now got their codes enabling them to update the meters. The process is free, and millions of customers have updated their token meters as August 31 deadline looms. By the end of the exercise, over 7 million Kenyans using the prepaid system expected to have had their meters updated. Kenya Power explains that customers can buy tokens for at least 1 unit, and they will get the codes via SMS with the 2 codes. We leave East Africa to North Africa now. Egypt unveiled a national low-carbon hydrogen strategy aiming to bolster their green economy and meet climate change goals. Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Bodli said that the strategy is aligned with the government's Egypt Vision 2030 and will help diversify energy sources, reduce carbon emissions, and attract foreign investment. Developed with partners including the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the plan targets boosting hydrogen production and consumption domestically before expanding export. It aims to increase the GDP by nearly $18 billion, create about 100,000 jobs by 2040, while enhancing energy security. Egypt seeks to become a global green hydrogen hub, with the Suez Canal Economic Zone already securing a contract worth 397 million euros to export green fuel to Europe. We're still in Egypt, and the government there has announced several new immigration policies aimed at boosting tourism. Travelers will continue to enjoy a 96-hour free transit visa at all Egyptian airports until the end of April 2025. The policy, previously limited to Egypt Air flight, has now been expanded to include other Egyptian airlines. During the summer season, foreigners arriving at Luxor Aswan International Airport on Egyptian airline flight will be eligible for a free emergency entry visa. This applies to nationals of countries that already have permit emergency visa entry. Well, citizens of South Africa, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan can now obtain emergency entry visas upon arrival, expanding the country's eligibility for this visa-free option. Additionally, these countries have been added to the electronic visa portal. And now in Zimbabwe, the government of Japan has donated a fertilizer consignment valued at $4.7 million to Zimbabwe, and it's aimed at assisting approximately 100,000 small-scale farmers across the country. Deputy Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Vengels Haritatos, received the fertilizer donation on behalf of the Zimbabwean government. Haritatos said that the donation, which includes 3,860 metric tons of ammonium in nitrate, top dressing, and 1,941 metric tons of compound D, will support the Presidential Input Support Program that benefits 3.5 million farmers in Zimbabwe. One pillar of Japanese development cooperation policy to Zimbabwe is supporting the agricultural sector. In close cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture, Japan has dispatched 3 experts of Japan International Cooperation Agency to the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development to develop technical assistance for the establishment of market-oriented agriculture called Zimbabwe Smallholder Horticulture Empowerment and Promotion. We head to the crypto space now, and I saw some interesting stories, but we get there in just a bit. We see BTC is back in the green, but we're still around 58,000. Well, a lot of things happening right there. We'll see what will happen over this weekend. Ethereum is, however, still in the red, 0.15%. BNB in the green, so splashes of green and red. Solana we see there, and Cardano also looking green. Let's talk to Onua now, find out perhaps he knows what's the latest or what's driving the market at this time. Hi, Onua, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Great, so what's happening in the market? We see a mixture of colors, even though the price of Bitcoin hasn't really changed compared to what we had at this time yesterday.
Yes, that's correct. Most of the prices that you're seeing on Bitcoin actually is sell pressure from a lot of investors, with sentiments within the market forces is what is driving the market right now. So, but the market looks a little bit bullish and bearish, but it requires a little form of patience for the market to actually move to a expected direction.
Yeah, I wonder how much patience. Is the weekend enough patience for movements of the market?
Is that?
Is the weekend enough? If we wait for the weekend, can we expect things to change by Monday?
Yeah, price volatility concerning as it is right now has a buy pressure in the upward. It has a resistance of around that 59,000 plus. Once it breaks that high, we might see the movement of Bitcoin going to the higher range of 60,000. But there's a support at the downside that is ranging currently. So until it breaks that one to the downside, before we see more market volatility to the downside, it's going to be a sell pressure for a while before the movement to the upside.
Okay, Onua, let's look at some headlines at this time. We hear that Dubai court is enforcing cryptocurrency salary payments. Sounds interesting. I don't know what you've heard about that. Dubai court enforces cryptocurrency salary payment. So does that mean that they'll be getting salaries, paid in cryptocurrency? That's interesting.
That's very interesting. That's a grand landslide in terms of that court ruling in Dubai. It means that salaries of workers in Dubai can now officially be paid in cryptocurrency without actually converting it to fiat money. So that means they receive the payment in cryptocurrencies, and it will be at the discretion of the workers to actually change it to fiat money if they so wishes. So it means that cryptocurrency awareness and it's gone global. Dubai is a very great financial institution and a country. So with that ruling, it's created more opportunity for new investors to come into the crypto space to see that the opportunity lies within this thing in the future.
But would this be for the public sector, or does it spread to the private sector?
Yeah, any of the employees that has an employment contract is applicable, whether private sector or government sector is allowed when it comes to crypto. So it has been ruled already, so it has become officially a law and a means of payment, either fiat money or cryptocurrency, with with any of those ones can be asked by the employees to be paid into.
Wow, very interesting. So we would expect this to bring certain movements, around the price action of cryptocurrency, especially when it gets to maybe in the period where salaries are being paid.
Yes, exactly. So on the salary aspect of the Dubai ruling, it means that more of the employees that are not too savvy when it comes to cryptos cannot get more insight concerning the crypto space, which will give them an opportunity to want to go digging into the crypto space to be able to see what is happening, how they can invest and benefit. This will now bring more opportunity into the market space for buy pressure to now come into the space.
But this is less risk compared to what El Salvador did, I think, was it 2 years ago, where they just adopted Bitcoin into... So this has less risk, at least for the country and even individuals.
Yes, El Salvador's law was officially a global one within the entire country that they make it a valid payment systems for irrespective of the merchant and sellers. They can use any of them. So that was actually announced as at that time to allow crypto to go around whichever between the buyers and sellers. But for the Dubai case, it was actually an unpaid salary of one of the employees that actually reported, which led to him filing a report on the court. Then the court looked into it and said payments can be made in either way. Last year was actually giving that approval, but they were a little bit skeptical because of the valuation of between the fiat money and the cryptocurrency. But right now, that will legally be officially declared that cryptocurrency can be paid to employees within a employment contract.
Yeah, interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how this plays out in a couple of days. But the other one is Trump. Of course, Trump is a newsmaker. So Trump's cryptocurrency portfolio is revealed, and he has $5 million. I'm sure this will move a lot of crypto enthusiasts, to go to the poll in November and all of that.
Yeah, Trump is a very smart man. Invested about $1 to $5 million within the crypto space within that 2022, and more of investment is more on Ethereum and more into NFTs. NFTs are non-fungible tokens that allows digital asset of all his crypto investments. So most of his digital assets are basically like a trading card, where you have Trump like having like a cowboy or having kind of like a cartoon image of all these digital assets is what he's done. And so far he has actually amassed more than $7 million in profit after that 2022 investment, and it's still going strong.
I wonder what happened to our own Davido's token.
The Davido token actually is more or less like a test run, and it really didn't do it right because token actually has a way of being secured for people to benefit from it, But when the originator of the token is actually programmed to benefit from it, I don't see it as the right investment scheme, because naturally in the crypto space, the security aspect of every security token must make sure that the owners and the investors or the initiator of the coin does not own more than 7% max. So when you say a token that the initiator or the owner has more than 10% or more, that token is not viable. So it means that when people now buy into it like that, and the person has more authority in terms of the ownership of that, they might dump that coin. That is exactly what happened to that of Davido's coin. So it's not the right thing to do, actually. If you actually wanted to let all buyers and sellers come into the space and everybody benefit from the bullish trend of that crypto, rather than one or two persons benefiting from that such movement.
Okay, well, I guess maybe he would learn from that and then, take a different strategy. But what do you expect this weekend, talking about price action?
Yeah, with a lot of good news relating to this latter, we're seeing a price movement to break above $60,000 Bitcoin price. So, but it's currently ranging between the last high and the last hold right now. So until it breaks the last high, we can see a movement to the upside in the coming week. But currently, right now, there's a lot of volatility in the market. So just a buy pressure for a while, and sell pressure is more. On the higher time frame, actually, we have a more opportunity for the market to go down more. So before it gets a movement to the upside, we'll see a sell pressure for a while. And the total news of the entire thing that's happened, both in Dubai and the new investors coming into the space, will push the market up.
All right, we'll certainly see how that turns out by Monday. Thank you so much, Onuabudu, for your views this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Great, and that's where we draw the curtains on today's program. For the week. Thank you so much. What a journey it's been from Monday till today. Been a pleasure being on this side. I hope it's been worth your time. We'll do it again next week. But do remember, tomorrow, Saturday, 7 p.m., Willie Bong will be here with Capital Markets. She'll give you a summary of all that's happened in the market, and perhaps you get some investment tips at this time when there seems to be a bit of lull in the NGX, and yet the federal government is very active in the fixed income markets. You might find some information there. So you want to join her at 7 p.m. I'll see you at 10 p.m. and then on Monday. Have a great weekend.